Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for everyone that's joining us this evening for the MRes Zoonoses and Epidemiology of Animal Infectious Diseases online open event. My name is Anna Garcia. I'm the postgraduate marketing and student recruitment officer here at SRUC. And this evening we have Dr. Toby Landeryou, who is the program leader for the Masters of Research, who will be giving you a short presentation, giving you an overview of the program. And as well, we will have a little bit of time after the presentation to answer any questions that you might have. You are able to use your Q&A section of your screen now if you want to do that throughout the presentation. Otherwise, you've got a little bit of time in the end to do that, to ask any questions. So I will hand it over to Toby.
Thanks, Anna. Good evening, everyone, or good day, however you're watching this and whatever time of day you're watching this. My name's Toby. I'm the course director of the MRes Zoonoses and Epidemiology of Animal Infectious Diseases up at the Inverness campus. We're here today just to give you a really quick overview, a short presentation about the format of the course, the content of the course, the assessments in the course, just to kind of, if you have any questions regarding the course or you're thinking of applying and you're kind of sitting on the fence, just to kind of allow you to ask those questions, and maybe some of them are answered throughout the presentation. So I'll just get started by introducing the core team of researchers up at Inverness, SRUC in Inverness. We have a really broad expertise group that is leading the MRes. So we have people like Maria in the top left, who's a fully qualified vet who decided to transition into academia. We have statisticians like Roger and Jude on the top row. We have kind of hardcore biologists like Dr. Scott Lawton there with a cap on. Annetta Burlager, who's a specialist in aquaculture and the salmon farming industry. Myself, who's kind of a jack of all trades, who's done a bit of epidemiology, a bit of genomics, and works primarily in global health. And Dr. Janet Nale, who works in microbiology and phages. And all of us here, in some part, either run a module or teach on other people's modules. But these are the guys who will be looking after you and your first point of contact if you do take part in the course. Also, I know Inverness is kind of up there in the frozen north and kind of forgotten about in terms of places to visit for scientific research and academia. But just to briefly introduce you to the kind of SRUC North faculty, and that consists of the Aberdeen and Inverness campus, all part of the new SRUC School of Veterinary Medicine. The Centre for Epidemiology and Planetary Health has been based up in Inverness doing research regarding the epidemiology and infectious disease biology of diseases that affect agriculture, aquaculture, One Health, planetary health, and it's been a base up there for a number of years now. And with SRUC opening the School of Veterinary Medicine, we've kind of been folded in as the kind of disease population health specialists within the school. As part of that school, some pretty big investments are being enacted by SRUC. So we've just had a brand new building last year called Ravic, which is down there in the bottom right, the nice blue and black building. That's a state-of-the-art new facility where we have laboratories, whether they be teaching or research-based. We have all of our offices that we're based out of, lecture hall facilities. Additionally, SRUC has invested in SeedPod down at the Aberdeen campus, which specialises in research in the food and drink industry of Scotland. And kind of part of this new investment to really start driving the academics within SRUC and use some of our skills that we have in research to try and build new courses and build new qualifications within the institution for potential students. So that's why a couple of years ago we came up with the MRes, and I'll just go into now the basic format of the MRes and structures and how, if you were a student, you would go through getting the qualification. So first of all, just to describe zoonotic diseases and the importance of them in terms of global health. So 60% of infectious diseases are zoonotic. Anyone who doesn't understand what zoonotic is, it means that it comes from animals into humans, whether that be from a tiny mosquito to a bat, maybe a cow. These are what we call zoonotic diseases, and obviously add massive complications in terms of control and kind of a real multifactorial approach in terms of research, because we have to understand the life cycle of disease within the animal and also within the human population. At least 75% of emerging infectious diseases are zoonotic or have an animal origin. These, what we call emerging infectious diseases, are diseases designated by the WHO to be within 5 or 10 years a major public health concern, and over 75 of them come from an animal origin. 5 new human diseases appear every year, 3 of animal origin. So I suppose the common one people could think of would be something like malaria or something like COVID. These come and breed and adapt and evolve within animal hosts before finally finding a way into infecting humans. And in terms of security, 80% of agents with potential bioterrorist use are zoonotic pathogens, so originally come from an animal host. And this is kind of the broad subject area that we're working in. We're working in zoonotic diseases. A lot of people in the UK probably have never heard of zoonotic diseases or have never experienced zoonotic diseases, but globally these happen all the time, and this is the kind of subject area that we built the MRes around. Our aims within the MRes is to, number one, increase students' understanding of real-world epidemiological problems. So as you work throughout the course, you'll be working with real-world data, you'll be working with data that the research team up at Inverness work with every day. And this is to kind of take that theory base that you're going to learn in the classroom to a real world setting, see what we do every day, and see how you can learn the skills to develop those. So we're going to provide you training in cutting edge analysis. So we're going to give you training in handling the numerical side of epidemiology alongside the biological side of studying diseases and infectious diseases, how they spread around, how we generate disease maps, how we handle massive data sets of infectious disease data, where you can't just kind of use an Excel spreadsheet. You have to really get into the nitty gritty of hard coding, analyses, and understanding why or how you can use mathematics and statistics to understand population disease. On top of that, we're going to help you develop your individual skills, not only as a student and to pass the course, but also your professional skills. So in terms of presentations, in terms of managing your own projects, in terms of basic IT skills, if it's been a long time, we're going to help you develop those skills to, if you want to one day, become a professional research scientist. If not, use your analytical and data skills that you've learned as part of this course to transition into other industries. And also a really crucial part of this is to really encourage an open-minded discussion, providing the global perspective of population disease and disease control. These things can be quite politically charged, and a lot of people have different understandings of how diseases can affect the globe and what factors we need to prioritize. And what we really do is encourage students to talk about that within class, with tutors, or with each other. The structure of the MRes program is quite unique. We have a full-time 1-year option, and I'll go into the other option as we work through the presentation. But this is the first of its kind designed within the topic area. I was actually down at a conference in London last week talking to guys at Liverpool University who saw our course, and they've actually designed their own around the structure of our course, because they really thought the actual structure of it was really innovative in terms of teaching students how to become researchers. It consists of 3 semesters. So the first semester you will have 3 taught modules in the principles of epidemiology and health management, epidemiological analysis, modeling and data handling. and zoonosis and comparative infectious disease biology. So if you think about that in the round, you're covering the policy side of epidemiology and health management with principles, and then you're really trying to understand how you use mathematical skills and coding and modeling to understand how infectious disease spread or understand how infectious disease are currently spreading. And then finally, the biology of the disease. So how we understand certain aspects of bacteria or certain aspects of a parasite, which means that it can be so effective. In semester 2 and 3, we have our project modules. These are projects. These are modules, sorry, where we present the students before the module starts with a list of project titles, and then you will have complete ownership of that project throughout the entire semester. So I'll go into it a little bit later on, but you'll work with a supervisor to complete your project in a thesis or within as in project module 2, a thesis and a spoken kind of oral assessed conference. And that will be your full-time 1-year option. So these research areas within these projects include disease modeling, spatial mapping, molecular epidemiology, social science. We cover a broad range that mirrors kind of the broad range of expertise within CEF up at Inverness. Assessments themselves, this isn't necessarily how you'd think of in terms of learning, and then sitting a gigantic exam at the end. What we really try and do is help these students kind of build a portfolio of assessment as they go along. So this may be weekly small assessments like we have in the epidemiological and data analysis, or it may be online tests, an oral presentation, policy brief like we have in principles of epidemiology, and then obviously the 2 big projects in semester 2 and 3, which are thesis mixed with conference presentation, critical review of a scientific article. We really try and make sure that there's a real cross-modal approach in the assessments, and it's not just sitting in a classroom, learning, sitting a massive exam at the end, which I think academia in a whole and education in a whole is really trying to build away from. So I've spoken about the full-time 1 year, the structure. We also offer this in a part-time 2-year aspect too. This is slightly different from the first year. So you'd have 2 taught modules and then the project module 1 as your part-time first year. And then in your part-time second year, you'd have a single taught module in the first semester and then the larger project module 2. And like I said, both these project modules are split between the first and second year, and there is a variety of subject areas which you can take part in terms of your project. So this is primarily in the past been for students who are working full-time. So we've had numerous students who are working in either veterinary diagnostic labs, they're working at government research labs, government diagnostic labs, pharmaceutical industry, and they've really everyone's managed to take part in the part-time first and second year and score really high grades and do really well. So that's really how we design this, to allow people to do this alongside a full-time job. The course is delivered in kind of numerous different ways. So obviously this is a distance learning course. This will mean that lectures are delivered live, but also recorded, so students can watch them all at their own time. We discovered in the first year that students still wanted kind of that face-to-face experience with their lecturer at times. So we also have weekly workshops and weekly clinics. So you can drop in if you have any questions regarding the lecture that week. You can drop in and have a one-to-one or a 1-to-3 chat with your supervisor or chat with your module leader. Additionally, we have online computer practicals. So especially for Roger's module in quantitative epidemiology, you have these live computer practicals where you can work with a lecturer on there live to help you out and help you understand. Additionally, we have 1 week-long practical, which takes part in Janet's module, which is the infectious disease biology module. This is not compulsory, so you don't need to come. We would suggest that students that have come in person in the past have scored higher grades. But this is a week-long practical where we go through all types of kind of wet lab skills, so molecular and microbiology lab skills. We dissect some animals, pull out some parasitic worms, do a bit of epidemiological analysis, do a bit of molecular work, micro work, and then that is assessed as a lab report at the end of it. And then finally, obviously, the research projects. If you are taking part in a data-driven project, this can be done off campus, obviously on your laptop, with help from a supervisor. But if you want to take part in a lab-based project or a field-based project, then that will require you visiting Inverness. This wouldn't be for the entire time you're doing the project, most likely, but if you are expecting to be in the lab, you would need to be in the Inverness lab with your supervisor. As I said, the research projects cover a really broad range of topics. So that can range from very data-driven quantitative epidemiology. It can range to social sciences, human behavioral sciences. We really try and encourage every single person to just take part in something they're interested in terms of a project, because that's the way you're going to get the best out of it. But these are the type of areas that we cover, not only for you guys, but within the team. So we have active researchers working in all of these areas within the Inverness team. Even though it's a distance learning course, we do have extensive student support services. So you'll be totally integrated in the postgraduate community in the North Faculty. So we have PhD students up at Inverness. You'll be part of their postgraduate community. You'll be involved in end of module reviews, end of module feedback. Student reps will be selected from the cohort to engage with SRUC. And we have a really strong student support network based at SRUC and based within the vet school that can help you with anything in terms of having trouble with your assessments, having trouble with technology, in all kind of facets of your time doing the MRes. Finally, just going through how we've actually designed this course and how the feedback that we've got so far. We've actually had really good feedback from our former students. We designed this course with a lot of help from different, not only government bodies and public health bodies, but also private agri companies too. And we've had really good feedback. We've had all of our students do really well. We've had students go on to do PhDs, students go on to just get a promotion within their division that they're working in. So at the moment, we've had really, really good student feedback and really, really good success stories of students that have graduated from our MRes. So that's the end of that really brief presentation, just to kind of give you a taste of the course. If you do have any questions, just fire them on through and I will try and answer anything that you have.
Perfect. That's great, Toby. Thank you so much. So as Toby said, feel free to use the Q&A section of your screen. I do have a couple of questions here already. So Josie is asking, what is the admissions deadline, please?
We currently don't have an admissions deadline. However, I would say that this course isn't supposed to be run for kind of 40, 50 students. So we do have quite a tight student cohort. We just opened admissions last week. I think we were accepting admissions up to kind of June time last year. So I would say get your application as quickly as possible, just because this course isn't designed to have a massive cohort. So it's not that we have a limited number of places, but we do try and keep it fairly succinct in terms of students, just because in the research projects themselves, we want them to work one-on-one with their supervisor, and that can be challenging not only for the supervisor but also the student themselves, because you don't want to share one supervisor with 10, 15 students.
Great, thank you. We have another one here that says, when is usually the in-person study week and where does it take place?
So the in-person practical will be taking place at Inverness, and last year it took place on the 16th of November. I'm not sure how the calendar works out this year because I haven't quite worked it out yet, but it will be kind of mid to end November 2025.
Great, thank you. We have another one here with regards to fees. She would like to know if the loans from SAS generally cover the entire MRes fees, or is it partly self-funded?
In terms of my experience with the students in the past, they did cover the fees, yes. Yes. You may have to contact them in regards to part-time courses, because obviously that might spread out. But I know that all students in the past this has been covered, but it's definitely not my area of expertise.
Yep. No problem. I mean, if you do have any questions about that, feel free to email us or email study@srec.ac.uk, and we'll put you in touch with our registry team that will be able to answer that question. I'll just give it a minute or so to see if there's any more questions from anybody. You don't seem to have any more questions so far. In the meantime, if you are sort of watching us now, and if you do go away and think of anything else that you remembered afterwards, feel free to email us. Most of you will have my email address where you received a link, so feel free to email me and I'll forward it to Toby and the team. And obviously, if you are joining us this evening, you will receive a link with the recording for this event. It will be made available on our YouTube channel as well. You'll be able to see previous events as well that have been recorded, and just in case of other different questions that have been posed at that point. Actually, we just had a question coming up here. So it's asking, will the course definitely run this year?
Yes, the course will definitely run this year. We have been assured it's running.
Thank you. Okie doke. I think we will just close the session then if there's no more questions. As I said, if there is anything that you would like to ask afterwards, feel free to contact myself and the team. So thanks, Toby, for all the information, and we hope that you found that useful. And thank you for everyone that joined us this evening. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.